This is my latest creation. She's the RMS Arundel Castle, and there she is there. Now this video is just for patrons, big fan of the show. I feel a duty at this time. Now, many of you and possibly me in the near future will be in some kind of lockdown, some kind of restricted movement, some kind of time frame where we're trapped in our homes and to deal with this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try and make some more programs, more shows, more story times, just more, because I can't imagine. I mean, I've never been in the situation where and I don't think too many of us have been in a situation where we're trapped. We can't move, and what we have around us, immediately around us, has to keep us stimulated. So if I can contribute in a small way, then I shall do so. So this is the first of them. I'm St Pierre White. Join me as I share my passion for building four-wheel drive trucks and then travelling to the remotest parts of the world. Our situation here at the moment in Western Australia is that we are what they call ahead of the curve. In other words, we're getting the threat is coming later than most people. So the leaders, I think the leaders are doing quite a good job. I get the impression that they're on top of it, and no doubt they'll make some good decisions and probably some bad ones too. But they're there, and I feel kind of fairly confident that they will do well for us. Seem to be up to this point, and we have a crystal ball. We can look at other countries and we can say, if we do this, that'll happen. If we don't do that, that might not happen. So let's do that. So so I don't know, but for those of you who have, and a couple of people have commented on the channel already and just said to me, thanks, that was really nice, light relief in our lockdown. Wow. Okay, good. If I can help in any way, really good. So I decided today. Now today is I don't have my watch. Now, a lot of you have mentioned, where's your watch, Andrew? Where's your Submariner? Well, 39 years, it needed a service. It started losing time a lot, and the Rolex, there's a story on YouTube, if you haven't seen it, that I made about my Rolex. It's been part of my life for 39 years. I bought it when I was 21 years old, and it has a story on its own. And I think during that 39 years, it's probably stopped 3 times. Once when I had an appendectomy, once when I had malaria when I was living in Botswana, and I think there was another time too, and the other day it stopped. And I hadn't worn it for only just one day. I hadn't worn it. It was a Sunday, I think. For some reason, I hadn't put it on. When I'm very active, busy, I wear my watch. I always wear my watch. So, and I hadn't taken it for a Sunday, and it stopped. I couldn't believe it. I was staggered. Never happened before. So obviously the self-winding mechanism was wearing, becoming sticky, whatever. And I thought, no, it's worth me having it fixed. Now there have been, I think, 3 now videos that have been released on YouTube where I'm not wearing it, and I cannot believe the amount of comments. Where's your watch? People notice it, I suppose, which is quite nice. Anyway, I feel completely naked without it. It's just it's like my limbs being cut off. So that's being repaired, and I should have it back now, about another 3 weeks to wait. I decided today because Africa is, I'm going to rewind just a little bit. They announced today that Virgin Atlantic was suspending all flights, international flights out of Australia until, I think they said 1st of June, if I remember correctly. And we were planning to do Africa in June. That was the plan. And if I think about it, I don't think it's going to come right by June. It might, but I have to come up with an alternative. So I've come up with an alternative. We will put Africa off this year, and instead we'll do, and I'm quite excited about it actually. You know, when I build my vehicles, I like to have a goal. When I used to build these model ships as a kid, when I was very young, I actually built them they would actually be radio controlled and they could sail across lakes and things. And I would always have a goal that I was going to cross a piece of water, or, you know, take a model boat and go across the English Channel or something. I had this kind of, it was almost like a fantasy driving the creation of whatever I was doing. With my building of four-wheel drives, I kind of do the same thing. I have a fantasy which is a trip. Now, for example, when I built my green troop carrier, the trip was the Canning Stock route, and it was a monster. It was a monster trip. It was going to be the longest I'd ever done in one non-stop go, and certainly, definitely the longest between stops, between places where one could get spare parts and fuel and things like that. And of course, I did that in '87 with the Green Troop Carrier, and it was a huge success, and the vehicle was, I mean, wonderful. But it was that dream of the trip that I would, as I was working on it, I'd have this goal in mind, not just to build a truck, but to have a truck and do a trip, and do a specific trip. I knew I was going to do trips, but I had something to hang on to. And up to today, with the double cab, I didn't have one. I wasn't becoming attached to it, emotionally attached to it. I was having fun, but I wasn't. And the other day it left, and it was at another place. It was actually up at Quick Pitch for a night while I was doing some other. The details are not important. Suffice to say that when it wasn't here, I missed it, even though it was just sitting in the garage. I think a bit of an emotional attachment is starting to grow for this creation. I think that what I've created there is something that's enormously versatile. It's a pickup. It's a big pickup. And bolt-on a camper, which I'm going to go and see tomorrow, by the way. The camper on which I believe that I'm going to base this. I'm going to go and see one tomorrow. I've seen one. I'm now going to go and see it again with a slightly different mindset. And I'm building a vehicle for a trip. I now have this trip in mind. So all of this work and effort, I now have this trip in mind. And the trip is this. I made a very quick video yesterday, and here it is. The intended route is this. From my home in Perth, we take this well-used road to the mining areas of Kalgoorlie, and then a road that looks something like this. It follows the railway line. The railway line actually goes all the way to Adelaide and beyond, but at about this point here we head north. This is the Connie Sue Highway. This is familiar to me, and it meets about here the Ann Bedell Highway. Now, during my solo trip in July 2019, I did it through this area around here. So I will now meet the place where I turned south, and I will meet that junction and continue in an easterly direction. Now this is the Ann Bedell Highway, and it's pretty straight until here, and then it starts to wiggle around a bit, and it kind of ends at Cooper Pedy. Cooper Pedy is a historical town. Might spend a bit of time there. Opal mining. Then head north on the asphalt and go up to Alice Springs. I've never been to Alice Springs. I've been close, but I've never actually been to Alice Springs. And then come back down a little bit and take this road. There's some wonderful mountainous scenery here. And this road eventually leads us to Uluru. Then from Uluru, the road is a little bit vague, and you can see here on Google Maps there are no roads marked here at all, but there are actually roads. They're gravel tracks and gravel roads, and basically I'm going to do this very roughly from this point. It's through the Gibson Desert, and it ends up around here at a place called, I think Wiluna is here, That should be Mikutaro, I think, is here, if I remember correctly. And then I'm going to continue west. This is very remote country. This is extremely remote. These are bush tracks. And end up at the westernmost point, Steep Point, and the westernmost part of Australia. My homeward route would be down to the coast. That is approximately 7,000 kilometers. This, for me, it enables me to take Gwen on a trip. She's never seen the outback. She's never ever seen the Australian outback. She's seen some of the coastline, but whenever I'm doing a long trip in Australia, she's busy. She's working. You know, she's a very busy person, and she can't just come on every trip that I want. So last year, of course, she came on the New Zealand trip and the Dubai trip. Not the Kimberley trip, not the Africa trip, and not my solo trip, obviously. So she did some trips with me, but this one is going to be the longest trip we have done together in quite some time. I am very excited about it. We are planning 3 weeks. I think we could comfortably do that. But as I was saying to her today, that trip is going to be unusual. Every time we've done a trip, whether it's been Africa or what, in the last, for as long as I can remember, to be honest, every trip has kind of been, okay, we're going from here to there and we need to get there by tonight. It's a booked campsite, or or there's nowhere to stay in between and we have to get there, and there's always a time pressure. And the trouble is with that is that it does restrict freedom to a point, and it's normal to have a trip where you don't actually have to think about that. To have a trip, and the Canning Stock was like that. The Canning Stock, we said, right, we've got 20 days. That's it, we've got to do 20 days. And every now and again we would look at our schedule and go, we're doing fine. And that was it. We didn't need to measure each day. We've got to do so many kilometers. We've got to cover so much ground because our average has to be. And this is going to be the same. There's a section where I don't know the speeds, and there are other sections where I do know the speeds, but generally speaking, we are going to be able to just drive until we're tired and feel like camping. Drive until we say, wow, what a beautiful place to camp. Or, nothing much here, carry on for another 2 hours. That's a rare treat, and to be able to do that for 3 weeks, we're looking at that length of time, and I think that's a reasonable time to do it in. So that will now replace our Africa trip, and I'm looking forward to it enormously. This behind me is my little den. I've got model kits that I save. I hardly ever make a model kit, but you know what I do with them, and it's a strange thing. I can take a kit, and every now and again I'll watch something on my laptop or I'll watch something on Netflix, and I'll open a kit, a box like this, and I'll open its contents. You know what the thing is with kits? I guess they're like an unread book. They have potential. They hold potential within them. And for example, I can now take these components and look at them, carefully look at each of the components of the model, and that's what I often do. I often just select a kit or two and open it. And that's it. And it gives me joy. And a lot of these are aeroplanes and things that I built as a kid. So they kind of I'm linked to them somewhere. And I guess if I am very honest with myself, it's trying to subconsciously take a little bit of my childhood and bring it back. If I was a psychiatrist, they'd probably say, this is what you're doing. And I'd say, yeah, sure, I am. And so that's what you're seeing behind me. Even to the point where I've got this here. Now, I've never been, you see that there? Can you see that? That's a Dalek from Doctor Who. Now, when I was a kid, Doctor Who and the Daleks were huge for me. And now, I haven't watched it in 30 years. I haven't watched Doctor Who. It doesn't interest me. The Daleks were part of my childhood. I suppose, if I'm honest, that's what I'm trying to recapture in my small way, I suppose. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you want more stuff like this. I can do stuff on my model making. I can do stuff on my collection. I can do stuff, I don't know, what can I do stuff on? The pictures I've got on my wall and why I like them, I don't know. I'm trying to find a way that I can serve you guys in some way and help, because I'm hoping that somebody will do the same for me if we are ever in a lockdown situation, that they'll make the lockdown just a little bit easier. I hope I have, in my small way, contributed to that. See you next time.